Hello and welcome back to another video. We have the first ScrawlrBox of the year here. This is the January 2024 ScrawlrBox. It is slightly delayed. We received it on the 31st, which is the day I'm opening it, which is a lot later than usual. They had a few delays and things, so but we were kept up to date, so I don't think we can complain too much, I guess. But they said it was worth the wait, so I hope there's something spectacular in here. It feels pretty weighty. There's no give to the box at all. So let's just get straight into it and see what supplies we have. Oh, interesting. Very, very interesting. We're gonna leave those in there. We'll take everything out of this box so we can get it gone. And the first thing we shall look at is the featured artwork. So, very abstract. I've got it upside down. Very abstract. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. This is the featured artist. Michaela is an Athens-based independent artist and designer born in Tokyo, Japan. After receiving her master in applied design in architecture from Oxford School of Architecture, she engaged with interior design, drawing inspiration from the traditional Japanese aesthetics of wabi-sabi philosophy. Oh, interesting. Their socials are down at the bottom here. Very interesting. Abstract is not my forte, but then I don't really give it probably the time it deserves. God, this pad of paper is ginormous, but it is newspaper paper. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Not something I would ever use. It's 43 GSM, so it's thinner than your paper that you print on. But it's recycled lightweight paper, ideal for drawing, sketching, and doodling with crayons, pencils, charcoal, pastels, and much more. Interesting. Not sure how I feel about newspaper paper, but anyway, let's get into the supplies. We'll leave the biggest thing to last. Let's pop into this little parcel here. And our sweet for this month is the Tango Blue Raspberry Shocker. Oh, it's a sour filled chew bar. We know what that means. There's going to be a sour rating. I'll pop it up on the sweet. We'll put the sweet rating here, sour rating underneath for this. Interesting. We have the Scrawlr sticker, a little bit bent and battered up there. Just a little portion of the abstract artwork. We have a pencil. It's a Scrawlr blank pencil. So this is the pencil that they include in the Scrawlr blanks when you purchase them to decorate and manipulate to make it more your own. So very interesting. Very interesting. Then we have an acrylic marker. I think we've had one of these acrylic markers before. It's by Rowney. Let's grab it out of this packet. Yes, I'm pretty sure we've had one of these markers before. Interesting. It's quite a thick, broad marker. So not much fine line work detail to be had with that. Then you've seen the Frisk newsprint paper there. And then the final thing, which is very oddly packaged. I don't really know. I'm assuming we take this sticker off for a start. Let's read. Should we read the back of this whilst we're trying to take this off? Maybe not. It's just telling you about what it can do. Okay, I'm assuming we take that off. We pop open this bit. Oh. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Wow, look at that. Wow, what an interesting supply. I did see some people posting to the Facebook Scrawlr community kind of saying that they found these supplies very interesting and they weren't sure about them. How interesting. I'm very intrigued. Very, very intrigued indeed. Okay. Let's... Some of these are the wrong way round. They've been printed on the back. How strange. Anyway, I'm intrigued. Okay, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Let's flip through this Scrawlr zine so we can have a look at what it's talking about. If I can actually place some bits where they need to be placed. Okay, so the first page is all of... Let's move all this out of the way. There's a lot going on in the background here. Scooch that out of the way. Get that out of shot. Okay. So the first page is a bit about all the supplies. We can scan a QR code to get some information and prices, etc. This says, this clever crayon has been designed for use in multiple angles for different and unique visual effects. Doesn't tell you much else about them. Does it say anything else on the back? Hello, Freddie. You want to make an appearance today? So this says, colour stays on paper, not on hands. No fixative required. Resharpens as you draw. Don't most pastels? Most crayons. More material for longer life. Doesn't... Is it wax-based? Is it... I don't know. I don't know. Interesting. Anyway, let's continue. Then we have a little bit more about the Scrawlr artist. Some Scrawlr tips and things to try. Again, as always, I will read these as we do some swatching. Excuse me, Frederick. Come on, scooch it. Scoochy. I will read those when we do some swatches. Some more Scrawlr tips, which again, I will read. Then we have the Scrawlr gallery. So this is featuring artwork from the box 2 months prior to this box. So this is when we had the hashtag Dreamcatcher as our Scrawlr challenge, and we had the pastels. I can't even remember what I did for that. It feels like an absolute age ago. I don't know. I don't remember what I did for that, but there's some lovely artworks on here. These hands are gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And then the top 3 for this box. Wow, very different, very different. We've got a really ethereal kind of abstract going on here. Surrealism. We've got another kind of semi-surrealism here. And then we've got a lovely, like, look at the autumnal pastel vibes we get from this. This person's clearly used to working in soft pastels. Beautiful, beautiful work by all 3 there. Very, very nice. And then the Scrawlr extra on the back is Ancient Artifacts. Very clever. Which I will read in my own time. And then finally, the Scrawlr challenge for this is Everything Flows. Okay, so we're not sticking, and we're not having to stick to the abstract theme, which personally I'm quite pleased about, because it's really not my forte. This is not my type of art to create, so I'm glad that I don't have to stick to that. So Everything Flows. Very interesting. I'm curious, very, very curious about these pastels. I don't really know what to think. I must admit, I feel like the Scrawlr blank pencil is a little bit of an afterthought. I'm not sure about that. The pen, I'm curious to see how this will interact with these crayons, because these feel very waxy, like very, very waxy. But I'm interested. It's a very strange selection of colours as well. We shall see. I don't know how they will fare, whether they will be nice to work with or not. So I guess the only thing to do is swatch them out. So let's get to swatching. So other than the generic making swatches, testing, blending, there is actually quite a few interesting things you can do with these crayons. So they've incorporated scratching it, so that's like staccato, where you lay down your crayon and then you get something sharp and you scratch off the crayon. However, I'm not sure that will 100% work on this newsprint paper. Highly recommend doing that on something a little bit thicker. They also talk about doing texture rubbing, so actually, like you would as a child, you know, lay your paper over something and you would rub with your crayon, and it would bring that texture out and show you the shape or the texture underneath that you had done. And then it mentioned trying out silhouette work, so laying down the colour and then using the black pen to add silhouette. Now then, they do try and give you a few hints on how to use the technique that the featured artist used, like the continuous line flow, and it says decide on a firm starting point. From this point onwards, you won't be lifting the crayon/pen off the page until the end. Draw what you see, have your reference picture in sight so you can easily refer back to it. Look at your reference closely, keep coming back to it as you move your hand across the page, planning the next move as you move the medium over the page. And then it goes on a little bit more about the artist's advice, like the behind the artwork, and then how they do the continuous line work. So a few helpful hints there and things to try. My own personal thoughts on these crayons. Firstly, they laid down really lovely. There was a lovely texture to them when you laid it down on this newsprint paper, but as you could see when I was trying to press a little harder to get a bit more pigment out of them, it just ruffled, and it did kind of almost leave a little bit of an indent, and I'm not sure how I felt about that. And I will say that blending was lovely, but I think the best blend was actually any of the colours with that very light skin tone, peachy colour. Excuse me, that seemed to be the best blending option, as that peachy colour really did kind of just sink in and really make all the colours slightly lighter, whereas the other ones you could kind of see the graininess and the texture behind it, but that is also a vibe and some people really enjoyed the look of that. So I moved on to using the pencil, and I thought I'm going to just do a little bit of sketching. So I started sketching some facial features, and as you all know if you've been watching this channel for a while, doing people and faces is not my forte. I practice all the time. They always end up really flat. If someone has some sort of tip as to how to make them not flat, the front side of the face always ends up really flat, and I don't really know why. But I decided to just try a little bit of sketching. The pencil was lovely. It doesn't have a hardness on it, so I don't know if it's a 2B, a HB, I don't really know. I'm sure that it probably says on the website. But then after that I moved on to trying the one line with this paint marker, which laid down lovely, by the way. It was a very nice paint marker. And do you know what? I think I started off okay. I was looking at my reference and I was doing it. I think my one line very much involved going over the same line quite a few times, which I think defeats the point. But I did get to lay down that one line, and I think it's about when I reached the cheek point on this particular practice that I think I probably should have stopped. But instead I decided I wanted to do the whole face, which is definitely not what the featured artist did, and I probably should have looked at that and decided to stop where I stopped, basically. Probably about this point I think would have been a lovely place to stop, but instead I rounded the face off, and as you can see in the background there, it looks like something off Saw. So then I moved on to doing a different reference photo. This one, again, like I say, I struggled with keeping the face, trying not to make it flat, and it just ended up being flat, and I don't know what that is. I can draw animals really well and get the proportions of the face, and you know, the illusion that the nose is a lot longer than the rest of the face. I just don't know why I can't do that with human faces. I just definitely need a lot more practice with it, and I think some hints and tips would be much appreciated on that one. Now on to my final piece. I realised quite quickly that my one line work by just looking at the reference was not going to work, so I decided to sketch the piece out first. This allowed me to just have a bit more of a plan, and I know that's probably a bit cheaty, but I thought there's a pencil in here for a reason, I'm going to use it. I did start off with a couple of lines at the start there, and then suddenly I clicked in my brain that I needed to be using the one line, and I did successfully use the one line for the rest of the piece. Now, after I finished this first bout of line work, I really like the way the line works working. I think I've managed to capture everything really well. A bit later I do go over the line work again, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I darkened the fringe and the hairline a little bit more than I would have liked, and I feel like it kind of takes away from the fact that this is a one line work type of piece, but anyway, you live and learn. But I did enjoy doing this line work. It was very nice to follow my sketch. I think it worked way better that way. So I'll let you watch the rest of this line work, and then I'll come back in when we add a bit of colour. So onto the colouring. Like I mentioned in the swatching, it was really difficult to get the very strong pigment unless we were pressing very, very hard on this very thin paper, which I felt really uncomfortable doing. It was making it kind of bend a little bit. I just didn't really enjoy it, and I think this is the thing I didn't enjoy the most, was the paper. I think if I try these on some thicker paper, maybe I'll enjoy them a bit more. But also, I'm trying not to say this, but these crayons are just not really my thing. I think they feel very nice, they feel good quality, they're just not really the medium I enjoy using, but they did lay down very nicely, and I like the finished piece. I think it looked okay. I, however, do think I could have done more to this, maybe added more pigment, maybe it needed less pigment. I'm not really sure. Please let me know in the comments below. But I am happy with it. I'm glad I produced something that wasn't an animal for a change. I will say that these pigments laid over the top of this black pen very nicely. It did mute the black pen quite a bit, so a bit later I do have to go back over my line work a little bit, which is where I think I added a bit too much line work then, so don't do that if I were you. It's meant to be a little bit more free flowing. Maybe I should have added the colour down first, but I did enjoy them. I think they were okay. I will probably not be in any rush to try these supplies again, but maybe I'll have a go on some different papers, see if that makes any sort of difference at all. Please let me know what you thought of this box, whether you received it or not, and I hope you enjoyed watching. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.